Online audience, how many of you are excited for Mother's Day coming up? We're excited to celebrate our ladies, and how many of you would be excited to have our coffee bar open? Y'all know me real good because that was a sit-up question, because I need your help. I can't do it alone, all right? So everybody that was clapping, everybody who's not clapping, you're invited to come hang out with me this week. We just have some small things that we got to do. Well, we got to finish sanding down the cabinets, paint the cabinets. There's some cleaning that we need to do, a few small things. But if you have any time this week, then I just invite you to come hang out with me. I'm not the best company, but, you don't even got to talk to me. If you're like, I don't like hanging out with Pastor Tony, well, I won't say anything to you if you just come help me. I just can't do it all. But if you have any time this week, all jokes aside, I invite you to come up here. We're almost through with all that. We just have some things, a few small things left to do. And then I was able to be out of town this week. As soon as church was over last week, I went away to our network conference. It's a leadership thing. And I just want to take a second to really hone in on something the Lord spoke to me. And so it's something that I wanted to share a little bit. The Lord gave me a verse, and then he spoke to me a little bit about the church and a little bit about myself. And I'm still trying to discern everything and what's going on. But I wanted to share the verse with you and share something that I wanted to invite you into. If you don't want to do this, that's fine. If you want to do it, great. I wanted to just start a fasting Friday. On Fridays, we start fasting. You can fast breakfast, you can fast the whole day, you can fast social media, you can fast TV. You don't have to. If you just don't want to fast and you just want to pray, then that's fine. But the verse God gave me was Jeremiah 33:3, and it says, "Call unto me, and I will show you great and mighty things that which you do not know." And so the Lord spoke that verse to me and really challenged me, hey, seek me, because I'm going to show you great and mighty things that you don't know. And I just thought, I was having this conversation even before I went away to this conference with somebody. I was like, I think I'm going to start fasting again. And they said, hey, let me know whenever you're going to do it, and I'll join in with you. And so I just wanted to open it up and invite the church just at this time on Friday, start praying for the church. And if you want to fast, you can fast. And I also invite you to do something else that I've started to do is on my phone, I have an alarm set at 3:33. And so at 3:33, my alarm goes off, and it just says Jeremiah 3:33. So at 3:33, my alarm goes off, and I just take a minute, and I pray over the church. Hey, God, show us great and mighty things. Show us things that we do not know. And so I just want to invite you into that if you want to. And I think that the Lord has something special for this church, and I don't have all the answers. And I'm glad that I don't have all the answers, because I would mess it up. So I just trust the Lord that as we take time at 3:33 and on Fridays that we really start praying, that God would begin revealing to us what we need to know. So we're in a series called Family Matters, and the week 1 we talked about how to fight. All right, how to fight in a godly context, and how to treat your spouse with love and dignity, and treat others, with respect, but still have disagreements. We're all human. We're all going to have disagreements. And then week 2, we learned that children are a blessing to us, and they are like arrows in the hand of a warrior. And it's our job to sharpen our kids and then to shoot them out, to be a threat to the enemy. And so today we're going to be in Proverbs 4:23. And I just want to tell you this, this number one thing affects every marriage. It affects every parent. It affects every relationship. No matter where you are, you can be single as a Pringle. You can have no kids. It's still going to have an effect. So although I'm preaching about marriage, it's like this affects every aspect of your life. Proverbs 4:23 says this, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. In the ESV, it says it like this. It says, for it, the heart, flows the springs of life. So Jesus, would you speak to us? Would you make your word alive? In your name we pray. Amen. One thing that I love about Kentucky, and especially like in Tennessee, is natural springs. I love natural springs, and I like nature. I don't get out in nature a whole lot, but I love drinking water from a natural spring. It's just so much better. And I always fight with my kids. They're like, I want bottled water. I was like, drink tap water. There's no difference. But there's a difference between natural spring water and water from the faucet. And what I learned is that it actually doesn't, how it all works. How does the water actually make a spring and it just flows? Because it's not just a creek, but it's important to learn something every single day. And so I learned this, is the water falls from the sky and it soaks into the ground, it collects into an aquifer, and then pressure pushes it back up. And the water emerges as a spring. So the spring doesn't produce the water on its own, but it releases what's beneath the surface. Now, if you go to the aquifer and you put some kind of poison in it, then what's going to happen is all that is going to flow out of the aquifer into wherever it's going to go. And that is a perfect description of our heart. Because what lies beneath the surface determines the course of my life. And there's oftentimes things that the enemy is coming into our lives trying to put stuff in our hearts. Why? Because it determines the course of my life. How I walk, how I act, how I talk. My mannerisms. My son acts just like me, poor guy. He talks like me, he acts like me, and man, he's like a little replica of me. And the thing is what he allows into his heart will determine if he's like me whenever he's 39. And I hope he's a lot better version of me. But for me and you as spouses, as parents, as co-workers, I have to, above all else, guard what comes into my life because it is so very important. The first thing I want to say is the condition of your heart shapes your marriage. Marriage is not 50-50. That is not marriage. If your marriage is 50-50, you're probably having a lot of problems right now. Marriage is 100% and 100%. And some days I have to give more than 100%. And some days my wife has to give more than 100% because I'm not always at 100%. Some days, like, I'm at 10 and I'm struggling really bad. Like, we wasn't fighting, but, like, I was trying to communicate something and it was hurting my wife's feelings. And, like, I didn't know what was going on. She looked at me, she said, do you not know, like, how you're saying this? Like, it just isn't very comforting. And, like, I just stopped and I got big tears in my eyes. And I just said, I'm trying really hard to understand here. It's just like, golly, ever since I preached on marriages, like, my marriage is getting hard. Golly, pray for my wife. She needs a lot of prayer. But marriage is 100% and 100%. But what happens whenever your spouse quits giving that 100%? What happens whenever maybe you, maybe me, maybe my spouse starts allowing things into their heart that affects my marriage, that affects our relationship with our kids, our relationship with our coworkers, whatever it might be? What happens whenever things start going south and they don't rebound really fast? I'm hoping that this message gets us to examine the things that are in our hearts to protect us and to protect our loved ones, because my heart shapes it determines the quality of my life, and it also determines the quality of my life and those around you. Your heart affects other people. Now, I was never married to my oldest daughter's mother, but before I met Jesus, we fought like we was married. Holy smokes. Golly, that's one thing I had to learn how to do. First thing God taught me was how to love my enemy. And so, but before I said this, I mean, we would like scream and cuss and throw stuff at each other. And I mean, it was bad. And when I met Jesus, I had to put a stop to myself, because it's like, this is not a godly way to handle things. But I realized something, that before I met Jesus, like, she would be mean to me and cuss me out and say mean things and do bad stuff to me, and it would cut my throat. So then I would retaliate and do the same thing back to her and try to cut her throat. And we're both so busy cutting each other's throat that we didn't realize the only person was bleeding was our child. Because I hated her and she hated me, and we did everything we could to hurt each other, but I didn't care what she did to me, and she didn't care what I did or said to her. The only person that it hurt was our daughter. And I said, Lord, I have failed miserably. And the attitude of my heart towards her mother didn't affect her mother, it affected our child. And I said, oh Lord, I'm going to need some help here, because I have to relearn how to be nice to people that I don't like. So your heart very much affects your kids, your loved ones. It affects everything. And that's not even the hard part, because all that is what you see. If you do not keep a pure heart, then what happens is you can start doing things with the wrong motives. And we've all done things for the wrong motives. And in your marriage, if you start doing things for the wrong motives over a long period of time, it creates danger in your life. You start doing something because you want to get something in return, or you be nice so that you can go golfing with your buddies, or whatever it might be. I'm going to be extra nice to my wife because I want to ask her if I can do something, or hey, I'm going to love my husband. I'm going to be so nice to him. I'm going to cook him dinner because I got a big Amazon cart that I want to be bought. Right? And so we're in these relationships, and we've all had wrong motives at the wrong time. But the problem is, if I don't keep a pure heart, a good heart, as I'm going through, I'm doing things seeking for return from me. And what I don't realize is I'm not truly loving my spouse. I'm loving me. Because impure motive says, well, I want to do this, but only because I want this in return, because I'm loving myself and I want what I want. It's very selfish. And like, again, I've done things for the wrong motives. We all have. But if you get in a habit of doing that over and over and over again, all you're communicating to your spouse is, I love what you can give me, or I love what you can do for me, or if all that's to cut off, I'm not going to love you no more. And that is very dangerous to your marriage, and it's a very silent killer to your marriage, because it's inside and nobody hardly sees that. But a pure heart will keep you having good motives. So we have to be careful about what we allow in. I grew up in a sports context, in a sports world. And I loved sports as a kid. I don't follow sports anymore because, one, I got disinterested. Two, I don't have the time. Three, I got a boatload of kids and grandkids and a wife and a church to take care of. So I don't get to hardly watch sports. I check some scores, but that's about it. But what always aggravated me is something called the prevent defense in football. Man, it gets on my nerves so bad. In the prevent defense, all you're doing is playing not to lose. And so you've been playing the game back and forth, and you've had one philosophy the whole game. And then at the end of the game, your philosophy changes and you back off. And you're going to say, hey, we're going to allow the team to march down the field. We just want to keep them from scoring. And what happens is, a lot of times whenever teams start playing prevent defense, they lose the game. They're playing not to win. They're playing not to lose. And I've watched it over and over and over again. And it's because they don't want to give up big plays so that the other team will score. But oftentimes your philosophy changes and you end up losing the game. And that can happen in our marriage because whenever we get complacent in our marriage, we stop guarding our hearts. We don't have to keep our normal vigilance. We don't have to keep my guard up. I get complacent. Well, my wife knows I love her. My wife, it hasn't been that long since we've been out on a date. Listen, I've shared this before and I'll share it again. I have to make notes in my phone that says, date your wife. Because I have so much going on that we can go months without a date, and then she's like, we haven't been on a date in a while. I'm like, we just went on one. It's like, no, it's been like 3 months ago. I have to do that because my schedule is the way that it is. And you know what? Whatever works, you can say, well, you're a poor husband. I might be a poor husband, but I'll tell you what, I'm even worse if I don't put those notes in my phone. I want my wife not to divorce me, all right? The church can fire me. I can't let my wife leave me, all right? That is much more important. And if I'm going to continue doing what I'm going to do in life, like I have to make sure that she is the top priority. I have to put those notes in my phone. I have to put stuff in the calendar. Hey, this is what you need to do for your wife. You need to do something nice for your wife. And it's not that I don't love her. It's I'm a man. And men are dumb, all right? We forget. I see somebody getting ready to start clapping. Their husband's not in the room. But we tend to forget stuff. We get off in our man brain. And listen, it is completely possible for women, you'd ask me, what are you thinking of? And we're like, nothing. Like, what do you mean nothing? Like, we were thinking about nothing. I don't want to think about one thing right now, and I'm not. It's like, well, shouldn't you be thinking about me? I probably should, but I'm thinking about nothing. So I have to do whatever I can to make sure that, I'm being a good husband. But we can get complacent in our marriages, and whenever we get complacent, we take down the guard, and all of a sudden the enemy starts slipping in small things in our hearts, in our lives, and it doesn't seem like a threat. But what happens is the longer it sits in my heart, the more it grows. And then all of a sudden, the more that it grows, the more it starts changing me. And then it starts changing my marriage. And and then something bad can happen, and no affair usually starts by waking up like, oh, I think I'm going to cheat on my wife. No. It starts long before, and then you can, if you're not guarding your heart, you can get yourself in a complete mess. And then somebody says, how did you get in this position? And you're like, I don't know. I don't understand how things unraveled so fast for us to be in this position, and here I am making these decisions that I never want to make, and I hurt my family, I hurt my kids, I hurt my spouse, and here I am, and my life is in shambles. What happened? You allowed things into your heart long before they were ever seen. You have to guard your heart because it determines your course. And make no mistake, if you allow junk in and you keep junk in there, eventually junk is going to come out through your actions, your words, no matter what it is. Garbage in, garbage out. And oftentimes, it's the unseen things that we allow in our hearts that we think, this isn't a big deal. You leave something out, some food, leftover food, oh, that's not a big deal. You leave it on the stove, it's not a big deal. You leave it for a week, you leave it for a month, it's not a big deal until it is a big deal. And then all of a sudden your whole house smells like rotted food, and you're like, how did we get in this mess? You just allowed something to sit there way too long. That is good, because that wasn't in my notes. Slap my leg. At camp, we played a game, and there was big 33-gallon bucket back here, and then you had 2 defenders that were in a restricted zone, and then it was 10 teams against each other, and then you had these 2 their goalies pretty much. They could not move very much. They could move side to side, but not forwards and back, and their job was to make sure that no balls got into the bucket. So the teams would send 10 people out, and they would grab all these balls, and they would run, and they would try to throw them into the garbage can, and the defenders had to block the balls from coming in. Our team totally annihilated everybody. I mean, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. We beat the snot out of everybody. We only had like 6 balls, and everybody else had like over 25. How did we do that? Because we got together and we said, hey, we get to send 10 people out. Let's only send 8 people out, and let's keep 2 of our offensive players in front of the 2 goalies because they can move around more. So we didn't just have 2 people guarding our goal. We had 4 people guarding our goal. And we totally annihilated the other teams. Why? Because the best offense is a great defense. The best thing you can do for your marriage is defend your heart with all due diligence. You have to protect it. You have to monitor it. You have to guard it, even whenever you don't think you have to guard it. You have to watch what you're watching. You have to watch what you're saying. You have to watch who you're hanging around. You have to watch the thoughts that go into your head. It says, above all else, you have to watch your heart. The way to win in your marriage is for you to do everything you can to stay emotionally and spiritually healthy. Why is this important? Because healthy people create healthy marriages. Healthy marriages create healthy kids. Healthy kids go to school and impact other kids. Healthy marriages and healthy families come into a church like this with other healthy marriages and other healthy children, and God uses the family to change communities. If our community is going to change, it isn't because Pastor Tony is awesome. It's because we as a church gather together and we strive to be the best husbands, the best wives, the best children, the best co-workers that we can be. And for us to live in community amongst each other and amongst people who don't go to our church. If you don't hang out with anybody outside of our church, you're not living right. You have to be a witness to other people. There are people out there that need to see what healthy marriages look like. And you say, well, my marriage ain't perfect. Listen, this is why I'm so insecure about preaching about marriages, because I don't feel like anybody in here is a worse husband than me. I fail all the time. All right? I said it a few Sundays ago. Sometimes it's best for me and my wife not to ride together on Sunday morning. My wife has this special gift, and the gift made itself known this morning. I started up the car, and we hopped in, and we're getting ready to leave, and we haven't been driving a half mile down the road, and I hear ding, and I look down, and there's that little gas light. I'm like, how do you manage to do this? Every single time I hop in your car, this little ding goes off, and we're already running 10 minutes late to church. Now we got to stop and get gas. And then I'm aggravated because gas is $4.19 a gallon. It's just like, just breathe. It's all right. Just pray in your head. Everything's going to be all right. Should have drove myself. But we have to protect ourselves, even on things that we don't think we need to. Because the more spiritually healthy I am, the more emotionally healthy I am, the better spouse that I can be. Because revival happens in the home first. But I promise you, whenever you're not emotionally healthy, when you're not spiritually healthy, other people pay the price along with you. Your spouse, your kids, co-workers. That day that I come home, I just wanted to come home and just sit and decompress. And just like, my job is a lot sometimes. It's a lot, it's heavy. Not that you guys are a lot, but it's a lot emotionally, carrying a lot of stuff. It's a lot spiritually. And I just wanted to come home and just kind of like, it's like, I just need to sit here for 10 minutes and nobody look at me. And as soon as I come home, like, my wife wanted to engage, and like, I did not say something. I responded in a way that I thought was totally fine, but it's because I'm just like coming in like, yeah, okay. And it hurt her feelings. And then whenever we tried to talk about it, I was just like, okay, yes, but this is just all that I'm trying to say. Like, I didn't mean it like that. And it's because, like, I'm tired and worn out. Listen, there's 2 times the devil will attack your marriage. Hard. First time's obvious, when things are hard. When things are hard, the devil will come in and try to just take you out for the kill. But the second time is in success. When things are going good. When the church is growing, when things are doing all right, the devil will come in and try to take you out. David had the kingdom. He wasn't failing none. His team was going out and raiding, and David did not go out into war, and he sat on his rooftop all successful, and then he failed with Bathsheba. And so we always have to be on guard, whether we're in our lows or whenever we're in our highs. We are not susceptible to immunity from attack on our marriage, attack on our hearts. The Hebrew term actually refers to someone who is in confinement. They are in jail. And this term is nothing like our jail cells today. They got iPads and people can make TikToks. Like, jail isn't even jail. Like, I mean, it's not like the jail, the confinement in the biblical times was like they were chained to the wall. And then sometimes they put what's called stocks, as was like wooden things between their legs. Just in case you ever could get free, you have to run like this. Sometimes they put them in your hands. And then they still chain you to the wall. Why did they do this? Because the prison guard was responsible for you. If you got loose, guess who paid the price? The prison guard with their life. So they were watching you. They were making sure with their life you weren't going to get loose. And that is the idea of what this Hebrew term means above all else, that we have to guard our hearts. Is you always have to watch every area of your heart. All day, every day. Is it a lot of work? Yes. Is it hard? Yes. Will you find things out about your heart that are not good? Yes. Will it make you a better spouse? Yes. Will it make you a better father or mother? Yes. It will make you a better person all around. Because complacency sets in. And man, I heard this is so good. Because once complacency sets in, you know what happens? You start coasting. And you know what happens if you're coasting? Anytime you're coasting, you're always going downhill. You never coast uphill. You can coast on flat land just for a little bit, but then you run out of momentum. If you're coasting like, you're headed downhill. And if you're married, you are coasting, I want to tell you, you might think you're in a good spot, but you won't be for long. So let's look at some ways that we can guard our heart. The first thing we can do is we can communicate with our spouse. You can communicate with your spouse, over-communicate. My office is upstairs now, and there is no windows. So this means that if somebody wants to meet with me inside the church, outside the church, that is the opposite sex than me, we do not meet in my office. We do not meet in my office. It's something me and my wife discussed, and I want to make sure, like, hey, we meet in open areas because I'm still the only person here. I'm the only person on staff, and I want to make sure that if somebody walks through those doors, like I am out in an open space. I'm not having anything to hide. I will take meetings. I've had meetings in here. I've had meetings in the kids area, but it's just in an open space because I'm not taking any female upstairs in my office, even with the door open. I'm protecting my marriage. I'm protecting, my wife's wishes and my wishes to make sure that we are staying above reproach. I also don't ride in cars with females, whether they're married or they're not. If it's just me and another female, I don't do that. I don't do that. There was somebody who came and they was going to help me with going and buying the purchasing of the stuff for our kitchen remodel. And they had a truck and they said, do you want to ride with me? And I said, no, I'm going to drive. They was like, you're going to drive? I said, yes. I don't ride in cars with females. If there's multiple people, then that's fine. But I just want to make sure, hey, this is something me and my wife has communicated. As a pastor, I have to be involved in a lot of females' lives. What are some boundaries? What can we communicate that are boundaries that are safe for us and that you are okay with? Make rules for each other. If you're not comfortable with something in your marriage, communicate that. Hey, whenever you do this, I'm not very comfortable. Hey, whenever you do that, I don't like that. Whatever it is, you just need to be able to communicate that with your spouse. Man, listen to me. Don't keep secrets. Don't keep secrets from your spouse. You want to kill your marriage? Keep secrets. My gosh, don't keep secrets from them. That will destroy your marriage because sooner or later, guess what? Secrets, especially in small towns, you tell one person, you might as well just tell everybody. That's why I share everything on the mic about myself as I share all my dirty laundry because you can't go back and tell my wife. She already knows. Don't keep any secrets. Secrets will kill your marriage. In your communication, men, this one's for the men, all right? You owe me extra for this one. Even if you think your wife is being extra, respect her feelings, all right? Even if you think, man, my wife's being so emotional right now. Golly, I didn't even mean it like that. And you do what I do. I'm sorry. You're not really sorry. You're just trying to get through it. You're just done with the conversation, right? I said I'm sorry, but you didn't mean it. How do you want me to say it? Baby, please forgive me. I'm sorry. Let's just be done with this, right? And you're laughing because you've done it like me. But listen, no matter how you think your spouse is over the top in their response, it's still the way that they feel. And you don't have to agree with the way they feel, but you should at least respect it because they are your spouse and they deserve your respect. Don't guard alone. Don't guard your heart alone. Find somebody that has full access to you that's the same gender, okay? I have somebody and they said, as long as I ask you any question, you have to respond to me truthfully and I will meet with you. Have somebody that can have full access to your life. Because why? Because you don't need to guard your heart alone. Because you have blind spots. I have blind spots. There are things in my life that I don't get to see. There are things in your life that you don't see. And sometimes God reveals it to us, but oftentimes God gives us friends to say, hey, I see this in you right now, and I'm a little concerned. I see this in you, and you might need to change it. I think it might need to be a blind spot. Now, don't give everybody and their mama permission to speak into your life, because a lot of people will say some things that are just not right. They know you from afar off. But you at least need somebody in your life that loves you, that has no ulterior motives, that can speak and say, hey, I've noticed this in your life. Put boundaries up. Have boundaries to protect yourself, your marriage. A boundary that me and my wife put up is we never complain about each other to the opposite sex. I never complain about my wife to another female. I don't do that. Do I complain about my wife to some males? No, because y'all might go back and tell her. Yeah, I do sometimes. Sometimes I get frustrated, and the guy that I meet with, I'm like, man, how's your week been? Let me tell you what my wife did. You know, how I failed and how she responded. Just like, but you have to be able to put up those guards, and that is a very, very safe thing, because men, you start complaining about your wife to another woman, especially a woman who is emotionally open, and then it can get bad. Women, if you start complaining about your marriage to a coworker who's a male, my husband, he just lazy, and he don't do this, and he don't do that, and I'm just so frustrated, and I just wish my husband was more like you, and that goes, ting. Put boundaries up in your marriage. Now, does my wife complain about me a lot? Yes. But she does it to me and a few of her female friends, and that's it. So you have to have these boundaries that you will not cross. Don't allow somebody access to you if they're not responsible. Lisa Turkhurst, I stole this from her. She says, I'm not going to give level 10 access to my heart to people who only have level 3 responsibility. If you open yourself up to anybody and everybody, you're going to get hurt. You are going to get hurt. Do I listen to every criticism that people tell me as a pastor or as a person? No. In fact, I had somebody criticize me a little bit ago, and I was just like, I don't think you're right. I didn't say that, but I just like, man, that was, like, you don't get to talk to me that way. But you know what I did? I went to somebody else, and I said, hey, do you think this about me? And they was like, no. And I'm like, okay. Then I went to my wife. I was like, hey, do you think this about me? And they was like, no. And I was like, well, I ain't listening to what that person says. You don't have that amount of access into my heart. If you open yourself up and give everybody level 10 access, especially people who only have level 1 responsibility, it's going to crush you. And listen, I hate to say this, that's true for your spouse. If your spouse is not responsible, like you have to guard your heart. Because not all spouses are living for the Lord. You have to guard your heart. Not that you hide anything, but you guard your heart from the things that they say, from the things that they do. You have to protect yourself from dysfunctional people and people who drain your marriage. Now, my wife might have a female friend that she vents to about me, but if that female friend continues on and encourages my wife to vent or her to vent about me, after a while I'm gonna be a little hey, it's okay for you to vent, but your friend is kind of encouraging it. She's encouraging you to be mad at me. That was 3 weeks ago. There are people that don't want to see your marriage succeed. There are people that are jealous of you. There are people that want, misery loves company. And they're miserable in their marriage, and they want to see you miserable in yours. Hey, you have to stay away, guard your heart from dysfunctional people and people that drain the life out of you. There is somebody in my family that I love dearly, but man, they drain the life out of me. Every single I talk to them, it's like, oh, my life is this and my life's that. I'm like, I'm going to quit asking how you're doing. I just say I love you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I can't handle that. It's too much on me. Things that we need to guard against. Negativity. Too much negativity is draining, and it will negatively impact your marriage. Bitterness, it builds walls. Temptation, physical and emotional, okay? Emotional affairs are still affairs. Hear me? We didn't touch. It doesn't matter if you touch. If you allow somebody emotionally in that is not your spouse, that's an emotional affair, and you have to watch that. Neglect will cause you to drift, and a drifting heart leads to drifting minds, which leads to drifting eyes, which leads to some very bad things. And the last thing, I wanted to make this whole point, because this is something that I checked some stats, and man, I'm not the only one who struggles with this. And I have failed big time. I have failed so much. You have to guard against time. You have to guard against time. Parents who are 40 and under report 55% that they're too busy to spend time with their children. 84% of them say they feel rushed. 31% say they always feel rushed. And 53% say a lot of the times they feel rushed. 50% of them say that handling work and family is very difficult to balance. Psalms 90:12 says, "So teach us to number our days, that we may get a heart of wisdom." The overwhelming response whenever you ask people, how you been? I'm busy. I don't want a show of hands, but how many of you would say, I'm too busy? This is what Mark Batterson says. I didn't ask for a show of hands because I'm Barry roast you, bro. Mark Batterson stands for being under Satan's yoke. You're just rushing through life. You're missing time with God. You're missing time with your spouse. You're missing time with your family. Don't show hands, but how many of you bring work home? And you're working at home. Our times are limited with our spouses, with our children, with our family. We must be intentional about getting this right. Yes, it's important. Work is important, yes. Life is busy, yes. You got ball games, you got this, you got that. But one day your kids are going to grow up and they're going to move out. And you won't have that valuable time anymore. I read in a Dave Ramsey book just the other day. Dave Ramsey, my gosh, he roasted me real good. This was a book about business, building a business you love, and like Dave Ramsey tore me apart. This is what he said. He says, if you see your dad 3 times a year and your dad lives 10 years, you see your dad 30 more times in your lifetime. And I said, how many times do I see my dad? And I was like, I see my dad 6 to 8 times. And my dad's going to be 59 this year. I need to see my dad more. And then I thought about my mom. I see my mom even less. And I'm like, I need to see my mom more. And I'm very open and vulnerable with you guys in my preaching and in my sharing. And I know I'm kind of ending on a heavy note, but I can't preach this without actually telling you that I know this. See, before I become a lead pastor, I could balance ministry and I could balance my home life effectively because I knew whenever my busy seasons was coming, and I would spend a lot of time with my family before the busy season, be in the busy season, then spend a lot of time with my family afterwards. And ever since I become a lead pastor, I'm so thankful for growth, and I'm so thankful for all the great stuff God is doing in our church. But I'm here to tell you, I've failed my family. It's been 2.5 years of project after project. And the first year that I was here, I would work an outside job part-time. And I thought, well, if I can just become full-time, then I'll have a better handling on everything. And it just got more busier. I remember as I was preparing this sermon, my daughter looked at me, and it was still during the first year, and she said, Dad, why is your laptop always open when you're home? I was like, I'm just trying to do my best being a pastor and trying to make sure the church is in a good spot, and I didn't value those words as much as I should have. And the other day, I didn't plan on sharing all this, but the other day we were playing that game Pass the Phone, right? Where it's like, I'm going to pass the phone to the kid that gave me the biggest headache. I'm going to pass the phone to somebody who always burns the biscuits. I'm going to, we were doing that. And somebody said, I'm going to pass the phone to somebody who acts just like their daddy. And you know who I'm talking about, Jonah. And then Jonah gets the phone and he says, my son is 6. And he said, I'm going to pass the phone to somebody who's always busy. I never felt like more of a failure in my life. And I said, man, I got to change something. I have to change something. As my daughter tried to warn me, and I'm working, and I am spending time with my kids, but like my 6-year-old son identifies me with being too busy. And in that moment, I began searching out. Like I need somebody to seriously like coach me and help me. And I had a friend here last week, and we went out to dinner, and he was like, "Hey, listen, like he's like, what you're doing is not good for you. Yeah, you're building the church." He's like, you can't even continue on. Like, even if your church doesn't grow, like, things have to change in your life. And there at Craft House Pizza, I just started crying. I was like, will you please help me? I want to be the best pastor. And I want to be the best leader. And I want to be there for you guys. And I'm not saying I'm not going to. But if my 6-year-old son identifies me with always busy, I have to make some changes. And the reason why I'm sharing that isn't so that you shy away from me. I'm sharing that with you because I'm saying I am in this journey with you. I'm learning how to do that. I don't have it all figured out. I don't know how it all works just yet. But I am smart enough to realize, like, I'm probably not the only one that needs to make some changes in my life. Because teach me to number my days, that my heart may grow in wisdom. And I'm just telling you right now, I've had to repent to my family. And I'm in the process of making some changes that will not only help me, but it's going to make the church a whole lot better. And it's going to be able to allow the church to continue to grow, not only in numbers, but in health. So I don't have all this figured out. Worship team, join me. We're gonna worship just for a little bit. We're gonna open up the altars, but you know, I stand here as a dad who had his kid at 19, and I was running around. I wasted a lot of time doing things in my own life, and you know, my baby grew up, and she had beautiful babies, and those beautiful babies are going to be 3 in July, and the older I get, the more I realize I have very little time left here on this earth. If I live to be 70 years old, I got 30 years left. Half my life is over. I want to be able to learn from everything in my past. When I'm 70, I promise I'm not going to be your pastor. I'm still going to be their father. I'm still going to be married to my spouse. And I'm going to give this church everything I have, but I'm going to put up boundaries in my life that says, right here, this is the cutoff because this is for my family. And I'm telling you this not because I don't want to be your pastor, I don't want to be involved in your life. I'm telling you this because maybe you need to make the same changes. As I was sitting there talking to this guy, he said, you need to find a healthy rhythm for your life. And he says, you need to take a vacation. I was like, thank you very much. I am taking a vacation. He said, are you missing the Sunday? I said, yes, I am. He said, congratulations. It's your first one in 2.5 years. He said, but you're still preaching the coming up Sunday, aren't you? I said, yeah. He said, well, that ain't a vacation because all week long you're going to be going through your sermon in your head. He said, you need to take 2 Sundays off. And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, well, I don't know if I can do that. And God spoke to me. He said, I don't need you to build this church. If I have determined to build this church, I don't need you. And I said, all right. I'm not telling you when my vacation is, but I'm taking 2 Sundays off. God don't need you to work yourself in the ground and neglect your kids. God needs you to protect your heart, put boundaries on your life so that you can be a mother and a father. God didn't call me. He did call me to be a pastor. But first and foremost, he called me to be a husband. And he called me to be a father. So stand with me. We're going to open our altars. And this is what I want. I just want to open up the altars. If you want to come pray, you, your spouse, you for your spouse, you alone, for your kids, we want to just open up this time and have a time of response. So, Father, would you speak to people? Would you call us? Would you move in our lives? That no matter where you are in life, like if you've totally blown it, God is very good at redeeming the lost time. God is very good at taking where you are and just saying, hey, I messed up a lot. I messed up my marriage. I don't have a relationship with my kids, whatever it is. But if you take this moment right here and make a decision, say, I'm going to do things God's way, I'm going to do things better, He has a way of redeeming the time you lost, of correcting your wrongs. Now, sometimes it might take a while, yes, but I love in Joel says this, he's a prophet, and he's preaching, God's going to send these locusts to eat everything up because you've totally disobeyed me. And it happens, and then God says, whenever you turn back around, I'm going to return to you double what the locusts ate. You're going to come out better and farther ahead than you were even before you messed everything up. So I'm here to tell you, right now, today is the day for you to start being a better spouse. Right now, today is the day that you need to start building that better relationship with your kids. Right now, today is the day you need to go tell your boss, these are my boundaries and I'm not crossing them because this is time with my family. You don't get to impede on that. If you're not paying me, then I'm not doing any work. And some of you maybe need to say, hey, you know what? You are paying me too much because I need to cut some time off. Because guess what will happen? Whenever you quit giving them everything that they want, well, you know what? A lot of places just, all right, we'll get rid of you and we'll move on to somebody else. You don't want to grow old and your wife hates you because you work too much. You don't want to grow old and have no relationship with your kids because you work too much. And that starts today for some of you. Some of you, the first thing you need to do is just get your life right with Jesus. What does that look like? It means you don't have to be good. You don't have to be perfect. You can be who you are. You come to God just as you are. You don't have to fix anything. No, you show up the way that you are and you let Him do the transformation. But it starts with saying yes to Jesus. So in one moment, you can become brand new. One moment, you can say, Jesus, I am so sorry for being a failure. I messed things up and I want to do things your way. And what happens is all of a sudden, everything in your life begins to change because of one decision. I walked in a church, a drug addict. I left free. Well, you really wasn't a drug addict. I did drugs for 10 years. How did it work? I just said yes to Jesus. That's all I did, was just say yes to Jesus. Every time He showed up and asked something of me, I would say yes. Did it take a long time sometimes to transform some things? He delivered my drug addiction like that. He's still working on my smart aleck mouth. There are things that just take time. But He wants to have that relationship with you. So if everybody would, close your eyes, bow your heads. If you want to give your life to Jesus, or maybe you gave your life to Jesus a long time ago and you're ready to change and come home, I simply want you just to raise your hand and put it back down. Thank you, yes. Secondly, I want to pray over you. If you say, I need to make some changes in my marriage, I need to make some changes with my kids, I'm too busy, no matter what it is. Something you said today, Pastor Tony, struck me. I just simply want you to raise your hand and put it back down so I can pray for you. Thank you. Thank you. There's hands up all over the room. And I want to let you know, my hand is up too. I am currently in the process of making changes in my life because I want to be an awesome pastor. But what I want to be before I'm an awesome pastor is I want to be an awesome husband and an awesome dad. That's what I want more than anything. I don't want my kids to say he was a better pastor than he was a father. So Jesus, you've seen the people who raised their hands, God. You've seen the people who are saying, I need some changes. God, would you help us? Would you place people in our lives to speak to us? Would you help us communicate with our spouses to make our marriages better, so that we can be more healthy? Would you help us, God, that we might be able to tell our work no, that we might be able to just say, you know what, I've spent my whole life working to become successful, and what I found is the ladder's leaned against the wrong building. I'm more successful at my job than I am being a wife or a mom or a husband or a father. God, today would you give us the courage to make those changes in our lives so that we can have a healthy marriage, we can have healthy kids. God, help us to identify things that are in our heart that are blind spots. Help us, give us discernment about things that the devil's trying to slip into our hearts, that we might be able to remain emotionally and spiritually healthy. Would you fill us and use this church to be a blessing to our community and the communities around us? In Jesus' name, amen. If I have not got to greet you, or you are a first-time guest, I haven't got to connect with you, I would love to connect with you out at our guest center, the white tables out there. You guys have a blessed week.
Well, are you going?